I've been promised an absolute banger here in the group stage of this team-formatted tournament. That's right, 1-0. Welcome back to Age of Empires 4 action. We have got some familiar faces here. Lucifron, the Spaniard, on his signature civ from the OG days, the French in the yellow. His teammate is going to be none other than M7, a rising prodigy kid in the blue playing as the HRE. And then across from them, two familiar faces, two of aggression, two that are closely matched as they have proven recently in S-tier tournaments. We have got to the north, B in the orange on the Rus. His teammate is going to be none other than Kiljardi in the red on the Ayubids. And Kiljardi already making an early play for the central pond in Himayama. Pretty logical choice here, actually. Of the four civs here, he's the one that makes the most sense to grab for it. Remember, he only pays 75 wood for this dock drop, so it's very efficient. And you kind of need that efficiency when you have to walk the length of the map like this. Remember, Himayama on team games, the pond is much further away. So a lot more idle time, considering you definitely will not have wheelbarrow. But interesting composition here, right? Like, French on one side and Ayyubids on the other. I kind of lean towards the east side team with that detail in mind. HRE might be the X factor. They can add a lot into the composition, but the thought process here usually is that Camel Lancers just trounce the French really hard. And with the Rus to assist, there's a lot of mobility in the right side team. So I'm expecting a more defensive approach from the Westerners here. French might try to play 2TC, but they'll have to be quite condensed if they do anyway. HRE is probably looking to get into Castle Age as quickly as possible. This feels like the type of game where Burgrave might become a necessity for M7. Oh, M7? Oh, he was so close. That's so unfortunate. If the Prelate had been sitting closer, I think he would have got the kill on the scout there. That's a big deal as well. 6 sheep is a huge haul here, especially considering that Kiljardi on the other side needs all the food condensed that he can get. Oh, I just realized that these guys forgot to use the team UI. What noobs. I knew this would happen. So for those that don't know, Kush and, was it Cornucopia? I've said that wrong again. It's not Cornucopia. I always forget their name. They worked together to create a mod for team games so that there's actually a proper UI. Unfortunately, as is typical with a lot of pro players, they forgot to equip. So Archon on the way. I imagine we're looking at School of Cavalry on the west side, Kremlin, and then finally it should just be what? Probably Military Wing's still pretty good here. I really like Military Wing because then you go with B's Knights and you just provide a debuff so that you can actually beat French Knights. Because remember, French Knights versus Rus Knights, French Knights will win. Because French Knights, they get Bloomery Tech for free. On top of that, whenever they get a charge off, they get bonus damage for 5 seconds, aka 4 attacks where they get an extra, I believe it's 4 damage. Or sorry, 3 attacks where they get extra 4 damage. So they end up doing an extra 12 overall in the clashes, right? So that's already a big edge. So having that camel there is huge, considering you debuff the damage from 23 when they're buffed down to, I believe it ends up being 18 again. So you pretty much offset the entirety of the buff from a charge, and if the fight goes on longer than 5 seconds, they are a complete disadvantage. So pretty interesting one. We'll see if he actually does lean towards it. There you go. Military Wing on the way. It just makes sense, right? The alternatives don't really play very well here. Advanced Wing doesn't matter because no one's going to contest your pond. You don't really want to go Trade Wing because you like winning games. Logistics at this early point doesn't make sense because it's going to be French Knights. And if you use Eco Wing up now, you don't have it for when you go into Castle Age. Is there a world in which maybe M7 plays the aggressor and Lucifron tries to be greedy, is what I'm wondering. Like, the 2TC strat's pretty tempting, but I feel like usually in these type of games, you want to have the HRE being the greedy boy. My only thought process is, like, you know, typically also in these team games, it is quite common for the stronger player to be given the favorable treatment for a greed. And I don't think M7 would ever disagree with the fact that Lucifron is the better player here, right? By the way, I realized that these two have the best team name of everyone in the tournament because you can just call them Lucifrom 7. It's perfect. Everyone else gets messy. Like, what are you going to call these guys? 3D Biljadi? I mean, actually, that kind of works. I kind of like Biljadi. Oh, guys, I've got it. This game, this best of one, it is Lucifrom 7 versus Kill Beal. There we go. We done it. Best team names going. So wall's going up already. This is a very defensive style. M7 is definitely going for Castle Age. Can you get away with that, though? And what's your goal with castle? Because if it's not Burgrave, I feel like you're quite weak here. You're putting a lot of pressure on Lucifron to control the map enough for you to get away with Castle Age Greed, right? And I don't know if that necessarily flies. Nice, starting to pump out in the meantime. Great interception there, that was sick. Notice he tanks the charge with his scout. Unfortunately, these fights we mentioned are always going to favor the French Knights for the opening, right? And once that clash starts for a few seconds, that charge damage is going to give him the higher base damage. So yeah, not really a way that B wants to engage. Desert Raider is going to be out and shifting across the west side. So it looks like he's trying to pressure M7 maybe for being greedy, because this is most definitely a defensive format, targeting castle. In fact, I'll be able to speed this up a little bit. I think the raids are mostly going to be focused on the north side here, so we'll hit the 2 times for the time being. There's no way you can sneak a second TC unless your opponent does, by the way. Like, this is kind of like a mirror in a weird way between the French and the Rus, both with different advantages. But if you keep this to knights, it's a better matchup for Lucifron, because the Rus's benefit comes from wood, and that's useless when you're scaling knights for the most. On top of that, your independent knights are worse, right? And although you've got a better gathering rate based on your bounty, which be done reasonable at 250, the reality is your opponent is going to be scaling more villages over time with those French TCs producing quicker. So as this goes on, as this drags out, it's meant to get better and better for Lucifron. Unfortunately, losing a scout like that, not a good start. The Wooden Fortress will go up quick enough here. Ball's going to be pulled in early to guarantee there's no grief. And yeah, this is a difficult dive now. In fact, even getting close feels like a mistake for Lucifron. Well played. Okay, that's sick. I love that from B. That was a really sick timing. That's very difficult to execute here. When you consider your opponent is pushing knights towards your base, running villages out that far, let me just give you scope, this far is incredibly risky. But he threads the needle, and now he has not just the boar, but also the deer nearby. Lucifron. Oh, he's gone pro scouts! Oh, that's so cool! We just praised the value in this area, but he's taking it away immediately. It is greedy, though. Like, this is worrisome what Lucifron's done, because B now has the knight advantage, right? Because you lost a lot of health early on. On top of that, you've spent 350 resources on pro scouts. It's insanely expensive. And you've added in extra scouts, which can get sniped like this. Yeah, time to leave, buddy. Meanwhile, south side looks like we have got Killjadi starting to mass up for an assault. Gonna hit the fast forward again, because like this army is just not big enough to dive. Killjadi just needs to find his tech up. In fact, he's just about ready to trigger it. M7, meanwhile, is going to be mirroring the timing. But considering that one can rush it with the build-up, the other cannot, this will give an advantage over to M7 initially. 9 villages now working on it. Meanwhile, north side, B trying to break through the walls. Knights are getting the charge in, though, and it looks like he catches B not looking. That's a really important charge there. Once you get that initial strike, there's no way your opponent can turn around against you. This front needs to be a little bit careful. Does at least get the snipe. That was so greedy, yet so effective. And it looks like we actually have Killjadi circling. This could be really cool. If they both double in on the north side player, there's a really big problem here. Lucifron has a one-dimensional comp that gets countered by a single camel. And there's no way M7 is going to help him because he's greedy hunkering, right? That being said, with the tech up complete, it's more likely that Killjadi is going to have to roam around the base to stop any of these relics going home to the HRE. Especially considering it's his own target. He'll be able to grab them in a few seconds. 40 seconds away from Growth Wing being complete. Lucifron's doing really well at getting these chips in, actually. Like, despite the fact B took a really good value point in the center with the ball, I feel like the micro has been favorable for Lucifron in these engagements, but you should expect that, right? This is one of his signature civs for a reason. Well, it looks like we've got some posturing on the south side. M7 is trying to get in a position to contest for these relics. Killjadi doing a good job of constricting him so far. Yeah, it's an interesting trade, right? I feel like Lucifron is beating B and Killjadi is beating M7. That's a really good sign for a fun game of 2v2s, is when one player is winning on each side, right? It's always boring when you see these 2v2s and one side is completely dominant, because you know it's going to be like a 20-25 minute wash. The upgrades have come in, though. Killjadi may need to forfeit one or two of these relics. Looks like the prolate is going to get sniped out by the horseman. He can at least wall-lock to delay this, but Killjadi should be able to break away. Ooh, he teases. And although you can walk at home, he's got no troops nearby, so it's definitely going to need a second prelate to get that one back to safety. In fact, do we have potentially a double moss drop in a rush here? It looks like no. Kiljadi instead is going fully offensive. I'm a little bit surprised. I thought he'd be a bit more greedy about this. Dervishes are really fast off the mark. Meanwhile, Senna is being clashed with, but looks like, funnily enough, a few Desert Raiders enough to scare away the Master Knights. Wait, they're on the same team. I'm an idiot. Yeah, weird posturing around the center, though. I guess they were expecting an attack on the fishing. This front with the dive in. Ooh, no castle turrets from B. Yeah, guys, this is like a really ridiculously good tech that gets slept on all the time. 75 stone for +2 to each garrison spot is insane. Especially with these dives happening. Desert Raiders are going to stand their ground. Big mistake made there. Lucifron trying to contest it. These are the type of fights he can't take. Look at his damage right now. This is a huge loss of an engagement to ever engage with. It's not even -3. It's almost -4. Remember, the decimals don't round. They round up or down, right? So this is actually 1.9. So it's 3.8 damage being lost. So he's actually not down to 16. He's basically down to 15.2. Yeah, not a fight he can ever win. And that's exactly what I was waiting for. Tech ups are starting to come through, though. 3 players now in Castle Age. Lucifron is lagging behind at this stage. And it's not really paying off, folks. Like, he's not getting much out of this. Yes, he's got a lot of food coming home. He can hunker down for a long time. He's gradually going to build an eco lead. But now his knights can just outright lose a fight against the Rus ones. Right? This is a very bad position to be in. And I feel like I'm in a very good position when I see that coming through. Thank you very much, OBD Vlam, for the raid. Appreciate it, buddy. Perfect time to see the master of raiding himself, Lucifron, in a 2v2. Desert Raiders. Kiljadi just needs to kind of... No, Kiljadi... What? The timing on that! The triple tap all at once. That's problematic, actually. I think Kiljadi, there was miscommunication there. B should have been moving sooner, or Kiljadi should have been waiting. Because if Kiljadi keeps those camels alive for a few more seconds, it's a really bad fight for Lucifron. But now, that should give him his breathing room to go into castle. Push on the south side. A lot of spin and men-at-arms here. Kiljadi just going to try to brute force this down with the camel lancers, though. And M7 is going to have to retreat towards the safety of the TC. Crossbows also now being added in, but that's problematic on the retreat. They usually get exposed first, remember. This is kind of interesting, actually. I think Kiljadi and B are in a position where they could dive left and right and hit the economy. And there's nothing Lucifron could do to assist, but I think they're paranoid that if they go too deep, Lucifron will go into B's base. A little bit surprised they're that reluctant, actually. Like, they've got really good vision in the center of the map because of this wooden fortress. So, in a way, it shouldn't be possible for Lucifron to slip one in so easily. By the way, I'm not going to click this yet, but get your numbers in. High trade house time, guys. It's the mini game you should be playing on YouTube and Twitch. Predict. Relic starting to be grabbed now by Kiljadi. Did M7 really get any here? He got 2. Okay, that's not too bad then. At the current point in the game, with the way things are going and the way Lucifron's kind of fallen behind, 2 relics is really good for HRE. Unfortunately, Ayyubid should be doing a lot better. I imagine they're at 3. 1 and 2, 3. There we go. Yeah, to be expected. And then what? Probably B's trying to contest a few? Yeah, so I'm expecting him to get 1. Possibly 2 of the relics. Out of town with the village in the meantime. Textile's not even protecting him. This is getting kind of annoying. It just feels like the walls that Lucifron has made hasn't really helped too much in the end. He has at least got gold safe, but everything else is kind of exposed. All right, let's drum roll, please. High Trade House is going to be 243 gold a minute. Not bad. You know, Himiyama doesn't usually give you these gifts, but in 2v2s it's more feasible, right? It's a really juicy one. Also a safe place for him to gather food without being harassed. Meanwhile, Kiljadi knows this game is going to go deeper. We have got the 2 TC build now coming in for the Ayyubids. Farms even being prepped for the late game. In fact, we might be looking at a gradual 3 TC build here. Yeah, he's still got 7 people on the stone, right? We used to see 3 TC a lot, and I feel like it fell off in favor of the 2 TC boom into a faster imp timing. But in 2v2s, I think 3 TC makes a lot more sense just to reach maximum capacity fast. Because a lot of the things that Ayyubids do best, they do in early mid-castle. So hanging around there, not such a bad idea. Pressure mountain at B's base here. Killjoy is trying to draw attention. In fact, there's a risk of a dive here. M7 might be in trouble if Killjoy stops attacking houses. He's moving in now. Raid's also hitting into Lucifer's base. There's going to be a Warlord coming out from B to kind of reset this. Killjoy, I don't know if he's got enough here now. Wait, did he not get the... No, he didn't get the range 2. That's a big loss there. Killjoy, without the range 2, could not even attempt to dive here. Has to back up entirely. Kind of needs more camel lances as well. I feel like Killjoy has been lacking lances for the last 2 minutes. A lot of them being lost earlier on. And this is the issue with going free TC, right? This is the issue with having to transition farms at this phase, is you can't afford to keep pumping lances to keep the pressure up. Now instead, the pressure is marching towards your base. Lucifer trying to bait B into that mass infantry comp, one that will beat everything here. In fact, at this point, M7's army is the one that both players just kind of have to dodge. They want to find Lucifer on his own, overextending. He's going to extend now. Knights do charge in. Flash comes through, but it looks like going to be a peel back here. Wait, what? M7? Dude, he needs the help right now. Wow, that hesitance to dive, though. I mean, the crazy part to me is most of M7's army is men-at-arms. I don't know if Lucifer just called for a retreat there, but it's kind of weird that he wasn't able to get in an assist. A little bit too paranoid that there was going to be a counterattack coming his way, but with a handful of spearmen in there, a big bulk of men-at-arms, I feel like there shouldn't be that much hesitation to go into the fight. Definitely a fight that favors Killjoy and B. If we hunker down and this reaches the later phase of the game, that's where things get really spicy, right? Ayyubid's not that impressive in that late game unless you've got an insane eco to just bump out unlimited golems. HRE are really impressive in him, as are the Rus. And French can be very surprising on 2v2 and above maps because of the power of Knights. There's usually enough gold on the map to keep pumping them into mid-imp. And Royal Bloodlines makes them unkillable, right? So kind of something to consider there is, like, especially with the Red Palace to defend your main base, there might be a level of agency favoring the West Side team. Calm a moment. Let's hit the fast forward a bit. The walls are now starting to go up as Killjoy is looking to make it a little bit harder to raid into his base. Surprised B has been a little bit more frugal with walls, considering he has got the fortified ones, right? Much easier to hold and also much quicker to build. Meanwhile, breakthrough on the way. Okay, so that didn't work for very long. They did at least get in position quicker than the other side. Now they need to hunt for the economy. Unfortunately, they get baited into the palisades. Lucifer trying to escape on the other side of the wall. Dive in the main. The keep drop is going to fail for Killjoy. Oh boy, he has no defenses. Yeah, they need to go in for a trade right now, or they need to get home. But the problem is, if you come home, this is a huge advantage for Lucifer and M7. They'll dive in. Second TC to be targeted. Knights need to be hunted. Newcastle is going up behind this. It looks like Lucifer wasted a bit too much time and lacked the vision to see what was just out of range behind that House of Wisdom. Yeah, kind of crazy, actually, that the Knights didn't go hunting, but I think they're paranoid about the enemy army coming home. In fact, this rush home might cost them dearly. Knights ahead of the main army. Charge from uphill to the down. B getting baited in range of the crossbow mass. Slight overextension there. Looks like some Knights were left behind, but we're also starting to be walled in. This fight does not look good for B and Killjoy. Night Clash comes in. Camel Lancers are debuffing those Royal Knights, but the crossbowmen surely should be able to carry this. Men-at-Arms frontlining as well. And it looks like the front line is falling fast for being Killjoy. They need to target down these crossbows ASAP. Archers for the trade out. Mamlet's Bravery is coming through quickly, but the Men-at-Arms are starting to warp into the back line here. Can the Camel Lancers recover this? Are there enough of them left over to try and wrap around? It's looking ugly. It's looking like it's not going to work that way. Killjoy, only archers left over, but not for long. It's a successful break of the defense. And M7 and Lucifer refuse to leave. Oh man, this is looking bad as well. From this position, the idle time alone, the fact that he had to go for the keep drops and only protect the backside of his base, Killjoy could be on the chopping block soon. B, second wave of Knights coming out, but a bad fight to take. Luckily for him, M7 is not paying attention. Yeah, that was a really off micro by M7. If he hits that with the A-click, That's going to be all these knights going down, right? 6 knights and 3 warrior monks. So bit of a miss micro there means they're making their life harder. But M7 is dragging attention multiple locations, right? We've got a second wave now diving into the main. Lucifron, 71 eco. Let's do the eco check. M7 also at 71 exact. B at 65, and finally Killjadi at 83, but not for long. Night dive starting to come in. M7 is getting the rams ready. In fact, is he going to go after Killjadi or is he going after B? I think he might be targeting B. Favorable trade here for B, though. Saint's Blessing just making it so much easier to wipe that force. It looks like it is actually going to be a full commitment into Killjadi. This buys critical time, by the way. Remember, these keeps going to take a while to get through, even with rams. So that kind of soft defensive reset should give time for B to get troops across. I say that, but Killjadi's not waiting around. God damn, look at him go. Oh my god, there's no boiling oil. M7's just going to dive this, man. I think Killjadi's in a bit of trouble here. Knights are starting to sneak through. Defensive force is going to be small. Men-at-Arms do find the villagers on the gold line as well. It's kind of quite funny to see Killjadi in these positions because usually he's the one all-inning like this, but this is incredibly uncomfortable right now. Military count at just 13. Eco about to be the smallest in the game, and B's army too small to do anything about that. This is a problem. Remember, this is not Abbasid, by the way. They don't get that extra agriculture tech. They don't get the extra better golden age. This is Ayyubid. It's a timing sieve. And I think it's fair to say at this stage, they're starting to look like they've missed their timing in this game. From this stage, you can't help but feel that M7 and Lucifron should just be getting stronger and stronger. Especially the HRE in this situation, the maxed out Arkin. Flash underneath the main TC. They do at least still have one keep back here to protect them. Not many rams are left over, so denting that might be difficult. But the bigger problem here is Killjadi doesn't really have anywhere to gather easily. In fact, he's had to migrate his full food source over to the east side in B's base. Let me check upgrades. Blacksmith techs, mostly in order for what Killjadi would need. M7 and Lucifron, no doubt they haven't skimped on those. Yeah, no, they've got pretty much everything they need. Maybe Military Academy would make a lot more sense for M7 right now. I think that's the only thing I'd criticize. Because he's just spamming men-at-arms, right? And then finally B over here. You can find his blacksmiths, wherever you put them. Yeah, the only thing I'd say is maybe B... Maybe the wedge rivets would have been worth it. But mostly people keeping up. In fact, let's look at the incomes. Yeah, M7 definitely has his food tax. Which continues. Rav's now on the main TC. If Killjadi and B somehow come into this, it'll be back into this, it'll be a miracle. Like, this is a very hard game now to recover. Desperation Militia being pulled to defend the west side against the Knights so you can get the walls up. I guess B's just that guy, like, your casa, mi casa. Or tu casa, mi casa. Because him and his best friend are now neighbors. I think this is the point where Killjadi is going to have to sneak everything to the south side and into the back of B's base. Not a great position to be in considering the lack of gold, by the way. Rams done with the main TC. Can move into the keep now. In fact, I'm going to speed this up a bit because this just feels like a butchering. B has at least got enough crossbows to stabilize at the moment. Rams are clowning around quite a bit, actually. Things have slowed down. M7, I think you misrallied there. So we'll get the next wave together. Look for another push afterwards. Okay, so B does keep them alive temporarily. However, raids are starting to target onto B's side of the map. And if he has to put everything in Killjadi's base to defend, this is going to become problematic. Villagers start the repair. Killjadi just trying to get back online. B maybe getting overzealous with the dive out here. 27 crossbows, 40 men-at-arms, right? Might be a good fight. Lucifron has slowed down, by the way. He went for a second TC, so it looks like after all that pressure, Lucifron now wants to play more of a macro game. An interesting choice as well this deep in. I feel like they were on the verge of just breaking Killjadi's base. I'm a little bit surprised he turned around for this instead. Knights on the backstab, though. This is big. B! Caught out of position. Saint's Blessing is going to help out a little bit. He gets into the choke point between the outcropping and the Sacred Site to minimize casualties here. But this is a dire retreat. The Knights, they just need to get past this to open the way for the Men-at-Arms. Line formation slowing them down, though. Camel Lancer has arrived to debuff, but it's not about the Knights anymore. Lucifron essentially playing tank to allow the Men-at-Arms in. Keep drop comes in from Killjadi, and that should be enough to reset them. And by some miracle, they dodge a death there. Wow. What a hold. What a retreat. That looked like that should have been definitive there. B on the verge of just going a little bit too deep here. Lucifron looked like he needed to angle more to the south side to get the full surround. But still, they should be able to get something out of this afterwards. It looks like there's going to be a dial on the second keep coming up from Killjadi. And I think at this stage, M7 needs to just go siege. Right? Get 1 or 2 trebs out, maybe a Mangonel or 2 as well. Yes, your opponent can react by going to siege, but remember Killjadi, he did get hit pretty hard where it hurts in the economy, right? He's not at a fat stack point where he can afford to add in 3 Springles, 2 Mangoes, and everything else along the way. So I think M7 from this position needs to chill a bit, switch into siege, and then just take your time carving this up, right? Because right now, he's throwing away a lot of troops into the cannon fodder mass. Lucifron is getting to a stage where Imp seems more and more feasible here. We already have M7 up in Imp, by the way. He did just sneak that. But even when you're talking about Men-at-Arms teched up like this versus crossbows, at this stage, I think even more than before, siege makes more sense, right? Because you can now get Culverins to defend against the Ayyubids. He also doesn't have elite army tactics yet. So I think M7 is in a very dominant position. It's almost like he's too scared that B is going to tech up as well, which is understandable because B in the late game with Roos here, like that should be, I'd say, the most favored civ, right? Because if they get the Streltsy mass together, they can dominate. Maybe I'm misreading that, though. I think Streltsy are good, but in some ways a little bit overrated in team games. And what I mean by that is you lack the mobility. It's almost like as a Roos player, your real goal is to play mass horsemen for boys' fortitude and mobility. Actually, guys, it's M and N7. There you go. Another keep drop by Killjadi. Denied. I'm wondering, do we see a tech soon by B? No. Guys, Lucifron's going to be the first one. Or of a second one to tech up into him. There will be no first one for the east side team. They're in a bad position. Guildhall was switched over to gold. Lucifron, he does need to find some access. Right now, he's struggling. Wait. Oh, this is bad. Lucifron. He legit has no gold, guys. Village is running away. He needs a solution fast. Knights is not going to be it, though. Not against mass crossbows like this. What am I witnessing right now? It's a 1-1 trade. M7 now heading towards Killjadi's base with the cannons out. But Lucifron at risk here. The villagers get caught. B! He forces the shivs out. Crossbows start stepping back. Knights are charging in. Into choke point he goes, though. This is a brilliant fight for B. Lucifron, 33 villagers and just 15 knights. And still it's doubtful that he can even win this fight. I cannot believe this. B. What a timing attack here. Into the main. And there is nothing left of Lucifron right now. 8 military and enough eco exposed that he could just lose the game here. B wrapping round. That is 68 villagers on one spot right now. This is ugly. Men-at-Arms have arrived, though. M7 in time to save the day. But it comes at a price, and the price is a stay of execution for Killjadi. Boys, Fortitude should help out a little bit here. Also, the Saint's Blessing doing God's work. Just to make these crossbows last a little bit longer. No elite army tactics, even for M7. He only just realized that this deep in, it means that B isn't going to have to even leave straight away. Oh my god. The crossbows are carrying this right now. Wow. B, what a strike at such a critical point as well. And the longer he stays here, the worse it gets for Lucifron, remember. Lucifron needs to get forward to get gold access. This is keeping away from a key ingredient to winning this game for the French. They cannot function in this particular game without gold. Crossbows will just continue the retreat. So it looks like men-at-arms still going to be sacrificed en masse here. Militia will make that even worse for him. In the meantime, Stone Gathering. It looks like M7 is going to try to set up some keep drops. A wall would be a good idea here. Stone walls is really what they're missing. And thank you very much, Big Listine, for the raid, buddy. Yeah, if they can't get a wall up soon, I think they're in trouble. Because remember, that was a crossbow mass. The fact that crossbow mass was able to walk in like that is quite frankly wild. What happens when it's horsemen with Boy's Fortitude? Keep drop now on the way from Lucy. And after stockpiling 4,000 food, it's all down the drain. AU2 eco now, meanwhile B up at 95. And remember, B never went for a second TC. Wait, the keep? Oh, Lucifron, no. M7 had to go back. The Lancers forced him away. Not just that, they massacred the villagers. So that is going to be a denial on a keep. What a timing attack here. Twice now. First time to catch out the massive villagers on the tree line. Second time to deny the keep. And Lucifron now all the way down at just 70 villagers. This game is wild. They're not done yet, though. Kiljadi now hitting the back of M7's base with the Camel Lancer raid. And M7, despite the fact he's been in imp this entire time, he cannot do anything right with the mass men-at-arms. Dude, he needs to go and do some damage right now, because right now he's just dancing around like a headless chicken in his own base. Always floundering like a fish, failing to actually connect. Keep drop is just about going to go up here, barely for Lucifron. So he will get the defense he's looking for, but it came at an even higher price. Lucifron, at 34 minutes, is now down to 55 economy. And these Camel Lancers raids, what a hit. I mean, M7 has felt the sting. 107 eco. At this stage, you want to be at 140 with Pulse Swabia. Just not able to get there. Militia, once again, just proving the bane of M7's existence. He has at least got the Elite Army tactics now, so he should be able to survive and hit back a bit harder. But always remember, this is B in Castle. If he somehow gets to Imperial Age, this looks over. In fact, Kiljadi looks like the boy who's saving up for that. Could this be Advancement Wing tech? Quite possibly. Advancement Wing's not a bad choice here, just to get into, what, probably just better Camel Lancers and crossbows. Sometimes you like Gulams. Like, Gulams is the #1 thing that you look for as Ayubids in late game, but against Elite Army Tactics heavy maces from the HRE, it's not really an option on the table. Well, Knights can play into the counter if you go raiding, right? But the problem is Lucifron, for a very long time, has not been raiding. He's just been denting the front lines, right? Like, it kind of feels like past the midway point in this game, things just became really one-sided because they just kept attacking into an army instead of into an economy, right? Like, that's the value of Knights. That's always been the value. Team games just emphasize that even further. Chip, eco damage, build advantage. Not a-click enemy army. Calmer moment here on the south side, at least. That should buy time for M7 to come in, but look at what's happening. Kiljadi is massing a new force. If M7 dives deep into Lucifron's base to defend, his own farming eco could be exposed here. B marching through, looking for those farms himself. Advancement Wing about to complete for Kiljadi. Remember, he has got the increased tech speed, so those upgrades will be coming through super quick into elite status. Only 40 seconds each. B. Now start stepping back to the choke points. Remember, every time this is just the favorable way to fight, right? Like, your spearmen are there as cannon fodder. This allows you to maximum DPS. Meanwhile, the other side, not so much. Tech up has come out, though. So now M7 and Kiljadi in page in this game. B still just doing so much damage from an age behind, though. And not just that, he's stockpiling up for Imperial Age himself. And this feels it, man. Like, if he triggers this tech up, like, he's winning a fight right now in Castle Age, guys. Quite convincingly. I love this. This has been huge. I actually think the Saint's Blessing has done a lot more than is apparent in this game. The +2 damage and the +1 armor is huge in these trades against the men-at-arms. What a play by B. Mass crossbows just being made to look so damn good. M7 has got more men-at-arms coming into body block for the retreat, but the problem now is on the south side. Look at what's happening. Bang the draws of war. Bang the drums of war. My words today are weird. Bang the drums of war. Kiljadi has come to town. And he's not just come to town in some cheap denim. He's got the Gucci's. He's got the Dolce's. He's got the Gabbanas, and he's ready to show them all off. Camel Lance is marching north to deal with Lucifron's economy. And now the crossbows surely should be marching west. Meanwhile, with the tech up complete, I imagine we're going to have mass Streltsy on the table soon. They are being queued up now. A stay of execution for Lucifron temporarily, but unless he can find his way up into Imp immediately, this is over. And in fact, with 67 economy, I'm really not sure how you do that. Wow. Dude, for how dominant this looked in the early game for M7 and Lucifron, I'm surprised it went this way, but can't really take anything away from being Kiljadi. Kiljadi on the verge of death, able to stay alive, buys enough time for B to get that mass together and then punish their opponents for a greedy all-in. Now that they've reached the full imp power, this should be the non-stop train, right? Crossbow spear still idling out. Lucifron barely gets access to gold before being denied again. And M7 is M-contained right now. He just can't really get new troops out to assist the north side. The few he's got left over are dented and dead. And, well, I mean, when you see someone building Vet Horsemen, right, you know the state of the game is bad. Trying to wrap one of those crossbows, but it just doesn't feel worth it, right? Like, if you lose the bombards in return, it's a bad trade. Meanwhile, Camel Lancers have made their way to the back of the base, and this should now allow the crossbows to move in onto the farms. At which stage, M7's ability to pump infinite men-at-arms to save the day, it's just not going to exist anymore. I mean, it kind of already doesn't, right? On 320 gold per minute, men-at-arms spam just isn't feasible. This is done. I mean, this is the second game on Himeyama where Expos have just dominated, right? But, like, it's difficult to make that Mango switch. Like, I think Siege looks kind of OP in 1v1s. It looks weird in team games, right? Because in team games, there's way too much ground to cover. Like, this is something I think that fundamentally there's a balance issue where Cav can look really powerful in the hyper late game because there are raid potential up and down the map. Siege requires a really condensed funneled map, which there aren't many that exist. So, like, usually going into these more infantry-heavy comps, surprisingly enough, works as long as your opponent hasn't reached the food boom point where they can afford Horsemen. Like, I think in this game, if M7 had switched Horsemen, maybe, they could have done a lot better here. Because he could have been raiding into the backline of the economy. And M7, with what? He was up to 3.5k food income at one stage, I think. He could have afforded that. And it would have helped with this gold issue down the line as well. Sometimes you need that final convincer to tell you it's over. And I think we finally see it. Streltsy mass is building. 13 already. Horsemen, even if they can dive in, it feels like it's going to be a death sentence. Streltsy peel off now to deal with the Arbitrier. Weird little wall coming in from B there. Shivs are going to be out. Spimmer not going to react. Meanwhile, Arbitrier mass gets butchered here. This is just wave number one. Lucy still an entire age behind. I think they're getting to the stage where they're just kind of processing the loss, right? I think what they'll realize is they just kind of all-in Kiljadi too much without any real eco damage that truly mattered. Like, they killed a lot of villagers, but they never done something to perma him. Even the TC drop. I feel like the mistake here, we quite often see it actually in team games like this, is over-focusing one opponent is bad, right? Like, the reason why focusing Lucifron so much worked out is because M7 had to keep coming to defend, he'd lose mass, and then you see Kiljadi ride some troops in, right? And also at the same time, like in this situation, you kind of have to all-in one opponent because the HRE reboomed villages so quickly. But in this particular game, allowing B to camp in his corner while Kiljadi just kind of dented the siege, I think that cost them dearly. Especially considering Lucifron was so heavy on Knights. If he switches back and forth between the two, very easy game to maintain control of. But because they tried to go all-in on one player, I think it hurt them. And this hurts to watch. Once again, these villagers on the tree line having to defend. And the army coming in for what I think will be the final time here. I think this is where Lucifron is going to have enough of this. Going to be sick and tired of it. Every last time before this, he's been able to push it away, but every last time before this, it wasn't Streltsy sitting on his farms. And this time, unlike before, M7 is not going to be there to assist. This is Lucifer on his own. In a battle, he has no hope of winning. Being Killjardy, what a force. Kind of interesting to see Killjardy, the most all-in player, being the defensive player in this format, but I think that was part of the game strat for Lucifer on M7 all along. Take out the expected aggro party and then weave it into a win. Unfortunately, all they've woven is their own demise.